All right, Alexander, we have to talk about the U.S. credit downgrade from AAA to AA plus. Downgrade, and the most interesting part about the story is that this is a U.S. Credit rating agency. So I mean, that says a lot. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely, they're all US credit rating agencies. All these agencies are based in the US. And what many people don't know is that they actually have.
Hey everybody! Oh, I gotta plug in
there.
there.
Which is set out in federal law. I mean, I found that amazing when I discovered it, which was during the 2008 financial.
Somehow I have to plug this in. There it is.
Credit rating agencies, Fitch, Moody's.
There it is.
They're actually have certain legal
rights
which are enshrined.
So I have to
what kind of credit valuations
turn it off so I don't. And we'll start the show. Every day is Friday. Getting so sick of the same. Well, Alpine pulled my finger. I don't know. Call them up. Call them up. Give them a call. Just give them a call. So Ham's going to come on in 2 minutes. And just say the same old thing as the boo birds say. I'm kidding. He'll have a lot to say. Okay. FNGR brother. Yeah. Yeah, this is ain't it funny how time slips away. Well, hello there. I know it's been a long, long time. How I'm doing? Well, I guess I'm doing fine. All right, let's see.
Hey, William, you ready?
Born ready.
Hold on.
Born to lose.
All right, everyone. I have William with me today, and again, William, welcome back. Again, this is not to buy or sell. This is for educational purposes on security fraud. In case the SEC is listening, they should be because they're fucking brain dead. But anyway, I just wanted to go over a few things with everyone. I was supposed to be on another conference call, but I gave it up to come to you guys. Just let me start with again. If anyone who hasn't paid attention the last couple of days, a gentleman named Richard Hoffman has been doing videos. He's posted them on Twitter about Alpine and all the crimes they committed. He's actually calling them scumbags. So that's not just me. But again, if you get a chance to watch his videos, William, what is his site again?
His check hasn't cashed yet. I'm not giving it.
Okay.
Just kidding. It's called Not Legal Advice, like Knots Landing, Not Legal Advice.
Okay.
And it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. He does excellent videos with Little JR, and he's great.
So that is related to Alpine and their criminal activity that has been busted by the SEC, FINRA, who knows? I don't know how many crimes they have. I think he said they had 30 or 40. I can't remember. But again, he does it nice and easy as an attorney. Again, he does a great job. It's very easy to listen to and understand. Okay, just a couple of quick things that I've been watching and understanding here is that Boy Sam, Frank Charlie, they had a debenture with Lynn. It was paid off, and the stock went from 90 cents this morning to 206 on 32 million shares of stock trading. It's now $1.19, and now they've regained compliance with the NASDAQ. It's funny, you pay off the criminals, and your stock goes up. All right, so again, once they don't have any way to convert into your company on the note, they are exposed. That's another. Lynn Partners, I put a list of Lynn's, that ones that I have, to SYTA, BRAG, BSFC, HUBC. These are just off the top. PXMD, and I guess obviously we talk about with finger motion, but these are deals that they have. And the word is spreading to get rid of them, and public companies are listening to us. So again, retweeting it, copy a symbol that that Lynn has a note with, let the world know, and they get chased out, and now they're exposed all over the place. A new addition is ASRE. Again, this is a stock that the Kramers, our famous Kramers in GTII, have a $69,250 note and was paid off. I just asked someone to post the 8K. It's been brought to me by a couple of people, and I don't own it, but anything to help roll out and kill the Kramers, lend out $69,000 and try to steal $1 million and destroy the company. Again, I don't know how big the short is in either one of these names, but if companies are paying off the debt of the toxic lenders, they're trapped in here. All right, so these are all good things that everyone's fighting and getting rid of the criminals and exposing them. So again, the more exposure they get, retweet it, let people know they're criminals. It only helps us. You remember, we have a shareholder that met with the FBI, 2 FBI agents. They all know about the Kramers toxic loans. They all know, and I can only imagine the DOJ has said they were going to act, and the DOJ doesn't throw that around unless they are. So I believe they'll go after the low-hanging fruit, which would be the Kramers, Yorkville, Lynn Partners, and guys like Savvy. We're all going to get busted. All it takes is the one to throw that fat bastard Savvy in jail, and watch how fast he turns everybody. He'll rat out everyone in a second. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. Once the DOJ announces that they're doing criminal charges, remember, criminal charges, it's bail before jail, so you better not fail. So again, these guys have done nothing, stolen the money. Savvy sitting in his Fisher Island exclusive condo, $10 million, and the SEC, I'm sure, has passed this up to the DOJ. They called it a naked short-selling scheme, the headline of his complaint. So again, that's like robbing a bank. All right, they don't let bank robbers go. They're not letting this guy go. So I expect that guy eventually to be the first one to get dropped, and hopefully he starts squealing on everybody. I just heard a story on Wolf. I heard their earnings are going to be outstanding. I think it's 9 days from now, but if you wanted to play it, there's cheap options. Just get the date down yourself. I don't know. I'm not playing it only because I'm tied up. But again, their earnings are supposed to be outstanding. Again, remember, they're the lowest. Their lowest cost in Bitcoin mining power. They use a nuclear power plant, so makes sense. Stock had a nice run to $4, whatever it was, $3.70, $4, and the shorts beat it back down. The short in this name is Yorkville. Yorkville was paid off a while back, and obviously they're still trapped in the name. All right, they're trying to wiggle out by keep selling more. They're trying to trade their way out of these positions. But again, you don't have to ask me about it. I don't know when the earnings are coming out. I think he said 8 days, 9 days. That's what the story is. Do your own legwork. If you want to play, God bless you. Good luck. But again, that's what I heard. So look at the options. There's some cheap ways of playing it. Could the stock go? Of course it can. I don't know if the earnings are going to be spectacular. I'm sure the stock is going to move. But, there's plenty of cheap options. You know, the threes for next Friday are 10 cents. I don't know the date of the earnings, so hopefully it's in this option cycle and you can get them cheap and not have to play the next months. All right, so GTII, again, Kramer's are exposed. They're still playing Diagonal Lending Corp, whatever it is, on that ASRE. That's the other. They have so many LLCs, they're changing them around now. Remember, they're changing the names because they're not trying to protect the innocent, all right? They're changing the names because they're guilty. That's why they're doing it. Everybody on this call hasn't changed their names or their corporations every other day. That's what these guys do. Gretchen Morgensen told me a long time ago that the federal agents want these guys away when they were loan sharking. So I can only imagine. I can't believe how long it's been, but again, they can't help themselves. They have no other opportunities in life but to steal. That's how stupid they are. They made it through stealing all these years, living a good life. Like one of the Kramers put his house in his father's name. Okay, someone, a real estate agent, told me that out on Long Island that they're hiding their name under their dad's name. Okay, interesting. I guess they're trying to protect their assets in case the shit hits the fan. But again, RICO charges, they deserve it. You know, they robbed and destroyed many people. Everyone knows what they're about. Another thought, anyone who has an account at Robinhood, HOOD, you complain about naked short selling, they were the first person to sell everybody down the river in a second and protect their own ass. All right? That guy went in front of Congress and lied and everything. Move your account, close it out, go someplace else. If they have no accounts, they have no order flow, the stock will go to zero. All right? I know you say it's only me, it's a pain in the ass. If you don't want to fight back, then they'll do nothing, support them. But I would move my account to someplace else. Once the message is sent that Robinhood is losing its accounts, they will eventually, the stock will collapse, and they have nothing else. They offer nothing else but execution. And they don't even execute, they give the orders to Citadel. So why would you support that? All right, so I went through Richard Hoffman, I went through Robinhood, I went through Wolf, I went to ASRE, I went to BSFC, and I just wanted to talk about Jim Chanos, the king of short selling, the almighty. Well, he told everyone to get out of Dog Victor Apple a couple of years ago, called it a complete fraud. Well, today I looked at stock was up another $7. It's up 4 now, up to 117. How would you like to be one of the poor slobs that owned the stock, okay, or a pension fund that sold it out on his fraud call? You remember, he's the one that called Enron. So obviously he was using his power from his Enron prediction to drag into Dog Victor Apple, calling it a fraud. Well, that stock went from 57 down to 53, turned, it went to 125, and it's actually going back up there again. This is a kidney dialysis machine company. I have nothing to do with it, but when he put out that it was a fraud, I said, well, this company's going to zero, or it's going to double, or triple, I said. I think I actually said go to 120, 125. And it did it. Never heard boo from him again. He could say freedom of speech, say what he wants, calls fire, CNBC, all the newspapers, everybody gave him press. Not one person went back and said this guy's full of shit, except me. Complete fraud. All right, so I don't give a shit. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? This guy was right on Enron. How many has he been wrong? All right, just look at the nonsense. It's up to 120. He's telling people to sell it at 55. It's going to zero. It's a fraud. That's the short sellers that everybody looks up to. The game is rigged. They come out with stories anytime they want. They can make anything. And I posted on Twitter, hey, Chanos, why don't you say something about Jeffries? They're the clearinghouse for naked short selling, the prime broker for Lynn Partners, committing fraud, selling counterfeit shares. That's Jeffries. No one says anything about that. All right? But again, these guys have their own, they pop out these stories, they throw the hand grenade, whatever you want to call it, yell fire in a crowded theater. And there was a great story in Bloomberg today about Hindenburg, okay, the other short selling, the new star of the short sellers, who's created almost $200 billion in losses, and market cap losses to public companies. around the globe. I think he killed one in India too. And I don't care about the billionaires or whatever, but he made pennies. He shorted it, distorted it, created a fire, and he made pennies. He's not even around for this story he believed in, right? He wrote this great report of whatever the companies he's attacking. You'd think he would stay and see it through if they were that bad, right? They just short, distort, make pennies, and run away. They all do the same thing. All right? Andrew left shorting Etsy at 1:30, calling it counterfeiting. They're selling counterfeit T-shirts. He spread it, got the stories all over the place that Etsy was selling counterfeit goods. You know, he covered his short and walked away, made a few bucks, and could give a rat's ass out of it. That the company is under fire now, and the company today is $84. It was $130. All right, so $50 off the stock, no big deal. Your pension funds own these names. If you look at it, see who owns them, eventually they're going to get you one way or another. I'm sorry, Bill, I'm just going to keep talking, but if you have any questions, I just want to get those things off my chest.
People love it when they can hear the voice uninterrupted.
I can keep going. Anyway, let's jump to finger motion. All right, finger motion. As I said yesterday, shareholders are saying it. I believe the Chinese are coming. I've been hearing that at Hong Kong.
Hang on,
Okay,
you've got one of your followers calling in.
Go ahead.
Hang on one second. I got to merge it.
Am I going to be talking about?
Yeah,
What do you
here's
guys want me
Anna.
to do?
Anna's in with you, Ham.
Anna, this is what I want to hear from. I want to hear your next vision for Washington, D.C. I need to know.
Okay. Okay. So I wasn't really prepared for this call, but thanks for reaching out, William and Ham. So I just got off the phone with my main contact in D.C. and, I'm asking that we continue to reach out to Congress, and that we secure the share count, right? Because we know that they're putting forth questions to the SEC, but we're also asking Congress to seek the numbers from the 105 broker-dealers. My efforts right now are focused on the Senate Banking Committee because I think it would be super powerful if we could secure letters from the majority on both the House and the Senate. We know that we've had a Democratic senator now put forth a letter, but we have to have them co-sign these letters to actually make them official and certified to warrant a response from the SEC. So my senator is, both of them are actually Democrats, so now I'm focusing my efforts strictly on reaching out to them, but not strictly, but that's where I'm at right now with my efforts to try to get them to co-sign this letter with the senator. I think it's from Virginia. And also I have spoken and I said, I think it's really important that, I feel like we're kind of getting smoke and mirrors from Congress at this point, because if you look at the Investor Turf article that just came out, we know that these lobbyists are in D.C. working round the clock to make sure that the actual rules and regulations that the SEC are trying to push forth don't go through. So this would be doing away with purchase order flow. And I'm waiting to have a call shortly hopefully with Pedro from the Twitter community, because he's so educated on how these rules and regulations work and how we can present them to Congress. Because I asked today, I said, I want to be able to speak to Congress about, basically lobby on behalf of retail to say, this has gone on long enough. You guys everyone is caught here, right? So if Congress actually doesn't let these rules and regulations get passed that would prevent these things from happening in the future, then we know that they're not working for the people. And that was my conversation today with Congress was, it's been long enough. The 0.5% are stealing from us, and the rules and regulations that are there in place are not working. We need to have these fixed. And so I want to be able to speak to Congress to make sure that, because they're voting on this, I think it's coming up within the next 30 days. So it's very, very important that we get this message across that we, the people, are asking that these rules and regulations that would actually prevent this from happening be go into effect, and that then they be held accountable, and the SEC actually does their job, right? So, I know you were talking earlier about Richard Hoffman's video that came out last night, which I listened to, and I think he said that they had been cited over 35,000 times, right? So I think it was Alpine, which is unbelievable.
Right.
Or was it Lynn Park? But it's 35,000 times, and FINRA has done nothing. And then finally,
That's Alpine, right? Alpine.
Yeah. So how is that even possible? A regulatory agency let 35,000 infractions happen, and they've done nothing. It's shocking, and this is what we have to continue to make Congress aware of, because they've done really nothing to protect us at this point.
Right. They just well, listen. No one ever believed that when you started this, that you would be down to where we are now, and we have traction. Okay, people always said the same thing. Why are you going there? It's just a waste of time. And I said I never believed it was a waste of time. I thought we were doing great work, and I thought it would start to catch on. And again, it will catch on. You just got to keep your head down, never stop, and you don't have to go out there and dig holes and break your back. Just keep using your mind, and they will all be trapped. They have to represent you, Anna. They have to. They're not going to turn their backs. These guys are looking for votes, and they're looking for people to vote for them, and they love what they do down in D.C. And I believe that we're gonna knock the doors down here, and I think MMTLP crowd is gonna get their justice, and I believe it's coming. That's how I feel, and that's why we reached out to you, because you always put a smile on our face when you're knocking on the doors. We love it. So I appreciate it.
So
I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you so much.
So Anna, Sada Aman says hello, and you've got dozens of thank yous and kudos. And also, Anna, if you want to ask Cam about finger or anything, go ahead. But otherwise,
yes, my finger is still jammed. I put ice on it every other day. Is that what you wanted to ask me about, my finger? No, nothing. We're good. I promise you, we're not going away until I carry these bums out, both of them. All right, we're not going away. We're taking a different approach. I love the DC approach, which I've done, and we're going to come back and do it, because obviously no one's in town now, so we have to wait. But we will. Well,
that's actually not true. Can I chime in on this, Pam? Because their staffers are still there. That's the one thing I want people to understand, is that, and also if they're home right now, it's a good time to reach out when they're home and back in your hometown, right? So that they're hosting town halls, or just go to their office and continue to push the message. But I also think it's very important that when we're making these calls, it's not, that these rules and regulations that are about to get passed. I mean, people within the MMTLP community, we can speak onto this and say that these things were, if they're passed, this won't happen again. This is something that needs to be changed for the future. And I think that's something that we all as a community need to push for.
I've always said that they're stealing from you, they'll steal from your kids, they'll steal from your grandkids, everyone. It takes only one person to make change. So as a unit, everybody working together, we work together, we row the boat together, and the walls will tumble down. And I believe they are. And I'm just, if it takes another 6 months or it takes another year, I'm still here. We're not going away. So again, anything you need us to do, if there's something special, please reach back and let us know. All right?
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you,
Have
Anna.
a great day.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, William, you there?
I'm here, so
Okay, let me go. Let me
go
continue.
finger.
This morning, Victor Tom George Nancy, I think it is, VTGN. Yes, that's the symbol. It opened up in pre-market $60 from $1.68 on Friday. There's something. Hold on one second. VTGN. That's correct. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I just want you to know that on Friday, this stock traded $1.63 to $1.70 on 146,000. It's down from $1.75, $1.88 3 days before. So nothing to show that anything was happening here. There was no, doesn't look like any insider trading or anything. There was nothing going on. And it opens up at 60. So if you own that stock, if I owned it, there's a good chance I'd be scratching my head saying, this thing's never going to go. What am I doing? You know, the story I bought it for is nothing's happened yet. I believe they're filing with the FDA is okay. Who knows when it's going to come out? And bang, zoom. I actually do know someone from Atlanta that owns the stock. I found out later. And I do believe they sold it way, way high today. They paid less than $2 for it and sold it, I'll say, north of 50. I don't know the exact price, but they're very happy. And it was by accident. All right? It's rather to be lucky than smart, as they say. He was in it. He was bagged in it. Nothing was going on. He sat there for a while, and it happened. Okay? So whatever story, the reason he bought it, he wound up cashing out and making a lot of money from it. And it is life-changing for him. Right? So you never know when it's going to happen. It's like the lottery. You got to be in it to win it. Again, if you understand why you're here and what's going on, that's how you make money. Education, not guessing. Don't throw darts. It doesn't work. All right? So, again, do your education, and there's a stock that, by accident, was doing nothing, and the next day it went to $60. All right? So, are the shorts still in the name? Who sold it all the way back down? I'm sure any investors that were long dumped into the rally, and I'm sure there's shorts all over it. And that leads me back to finger motion. The next question, people always say to me, how can you tell what's going to happen with finger motion? What price? Well, when you get a squeeze like this one, which I know nothing about, by the way, to 60, and you can see every hedge fund in the world probably called up trying to borrow it and probably shorted it illegally back down, right? That's when all these short sellers come in, and they, like myself, we have no idea. How big is the short in this name? I know nothing about it. It just happened. Just imagine if it was finger motion, it opened at 60, and all the hedge funds come jumping on top of it, saying exactly what I said many times. What is this piece of shit up $50? They all say the same thing, and they start shorting into it. But imagine a stock like Finger Motion or GTII, where there's 400 plus million to buy in GTI and Finger Motion 164 million. The next pop up is going to be deadly because you got the prime broker trying to cover the numbers I just discussed, and all the new shorts that just piled into it that will be roasted alive, and that'll take it to the next level, in which case you get new shorts coming in, and that's the one. That's how these things run out of control for a year. GameStop was out of control for a long time. Okay? That's because new shorts piled in, new shorts on top of new shorts. They just get bought in and they start over again. Okay? Because they all want to ring the top. They all want to get the top. They all want to sell it at the top. Again, that's the type of things that makes the shorts, the stocks go higher and last longer. Kodak or HKD, they both had short squeezes. Kodak to 60, HKD to 2,500. Those were express. There was no resistance in the middle. Very light resistance if you go back and look. And those things just kept going. Very different what I just described to you. So again, these things are very different. You got to understand when it happens, what kind of short squeeze it's going to be. HKD, there was very little resistance. Whoever did play got destroyed. Kodak, the same thing. They were probably shorting it at 7, 8, 10, 12, and it got ripped to 60, and it ended as fast as it went up is as fast as it ended. Okay, those are one-man short squeezes, very small. All right, now don't get me wrong, they're big, but it's not like a zillion people in it. Kodak, since that short squeeze 3 years ago, now has a lot of shorts in it. And so it's changed from a couple of shorts to a lot of shorts. HKD is the same thing. It went from one short, now it has many shorts in it. Okay, so again, these things, you can see HKD is always around 660, right? Always there. If I keep talking about it, if you mark it down, everybody, every time you look down at HKD, it's always at that support area, 660. The support, whatever this number is. And every once in a while, they squeeze it up to 12, 13. And one day you're going to get the squeeze back up to the moon because the shorts are still here. But it's very different to understand the different types of shorts when they're met with resistance from other shorts. Right now, we do not have that. We just have the one-man bands, whether it's the Kramers or Lynn Partners. All right. Any questions, William?
There's not a huge amount. Somebody asked about Leader Landscape. I don't know what that is. There's
What?
It's another company, so I wouldn't worry about
Okay.
it. And then there's been several questions. One pretty specific. Is there buying in finger from Hong Kong?
I believe so, but I can't put it in writing for you. I don't know the gentleman buying it. I told you I pitched a bunch of Chinese individuals that run big money. So if they're talking to their friends, obviously something's coming down. So I don't know when, but I told you other people are hearing it away from me. So again, I'm not banging the drum. I don't know who they are, but again, when they come, they come. All right, I can't. They have to do. People do their due diligence. They come in when they want to. And you know what? Someone's been accumulating it, so it's not me. So I can tell you that.
Obviously, when you said you'd be here if it takes 6 months, you weren't talking about finger. I'm
staying here for GTII, finger, all of them. I'm not going away.
Yeah, but you're not expecting it.
Expose this fraud. I want to make sure when they give the Pulitzer Prize to William that I'll be there to shake his hand when he gets it.
The prizes will go to you.
I don't want the prize. Give me nothing. I don't want anything. Don't even mention me. You mentioned Ace. Bring Ace up there with you with that stupid 49 I had. Bring those guys up there with you.
Fingers down around 5.16, I think. 13. Do you still feel like it's going to run in August, or could?
Well, whoever thought that BTGN would go today, right? You never know. These things have a way of just turning and going. So let's look at it and say, okay, what do we think about finger motion? Well, we know the fundamentals are here. We know the company's funded. We know the short is trapped. We know the regulators are here. We know the DOJ is looking to arrest people. So, if you keep adding it up, it's like 15-0. All right. So again, I look at it. That's how I look at investments, as saying, okay, what's going on here? The manipulation you see, this nonsense, it's always 100 shares bid and 500 shares for sale. Stocks do not trade like this. It's just manipulation. All they're trying to do is get people to sell. It's every day, it's the same nonsense. How the government allows it is just remarkable. Someone reposted that facility, I think it was a Ameritrade facility that burned to the ground the day the DOJ said they were investigating. If you just look at that photo, they were putting the burning building in trucks as it was still burning. I mean, you talk about trying to hide the proof. It was unbelievable. And just in that photo, and I always go back and look and blow them up. It's on Twitter. I retweeted it a bunch of times. But it's just amazing. This is the biggest fraud in American history, the counterfeiting of the U.S. equity markets. Everyone here is educated on it. Everyone on the phone is probably saying, I can't believe this is really happening, and it does. And I've been yelling about it for a long time. And the cover of Forbes from 1988 tells you it's been going on for 30-something years now, right? They all know about it.
Well, it's gotten worse recently.
Oh, there's no question. They're just completely looting as much as they can right now. It's like, it's like grab whatever you can. That's what they're doing. But I do think that the feds are going to start pulling guys out. The DOJ posted a couple months ago in a story on Bloomberg that they're going to take action. They expect it to be soon. So, again, once one gets caught, you see Savvy, the guy from Savvy Management. I put it up there. He's not going to do too well in prison, that guy. So, again, once he gets pinched, as we call it, once he gets caught, he will be squealing on the network of brokers, prime brokers. He'll give them all up. Trust me, they'll be giving up everybody. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's not going on already. Yeah, we heard a long time ago that the Kramers were turning people in. You know, they were actually giving up people to the feds a long time ago. I hope it's true. Let's see what happens.
The biggest buyer in Finger will be the Lynn Partners Associates.
Lynn Partners, the prime broker, Jeffries.
And Jeffries.
And
when do you think that'll happen, or what could trigger that happening?
Anything. I just gave you. It could be Jeffries saying enough. We got to buy some stock in. That ends it. It could be the DOJ sending a subpoena. It could be West Christian. It could be Mark Brazil going after unregistered toxic lenders. This is 100 things that can happen here. There's nothing positive for them. Tell me what the positive is. That they can keep selling naked shorted shares. You think it's going to go on forever? I don't.
Well, it feels like it will. But Busy Brands points out the former CEO of BBIG was just arrested by the DOJ. Of course, they go after the CEOs. They don't go after the criminals. But
well, I don't know what BBIG ever did. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've seen it go up. I don't know what it is. So I can't comment on something I know nothing about. So
he's arrested for an illegal fraud scheme. But
okay, so there's
I was thinking
one guy. So you got one company that did something illegal, and everything on the naked short selling side gets a pass because there's one person.
I was thinking the one thing to change this is if they made it illegal for CEOs to sign toxic convertible notes, the SEC would go after every CEO, and it'd finish up. It'd be over with very quickly. But I
would like to do is. I would love to have public companies. I would love to go introduce them to Diagonal, whatever it is, Ventures.
Oh, yeah, 1800 Diagonal.
Yeah, whatever. I love to go borrow the money, get them short, and then run them over. I think that's a better business model. Because these idiots will give money to anyone. Oh, 100,000, we can steal $1 million, and they just run them over. That's it. That's the way I think. I'd rather do that.
So
but again, I don't know the timing. I know that there's big players that have been. I pitched a bunch of them, and I'm hearing it loud. I just don't know the time. I don't know their names. If I bumped into them in the street, I couldn't pick them out. I have no idea. But again, these guys are. When people see an opportunity, it doesn't take long. We've educated a lot of people over the last few years in finger motion, and people understand it. And Lynn Partners just happened to jump right on the hand grenade, and congratulations, they're going to get blown up out of this thing. All right? The trades, the paper trail always leads to the money. It's pretty easy. And it's not leading to me, so I don't really give a shit.
Well, so do you have any sort of new news or
no, I wanted to talk about the SFC or the ASR.
No, it's good. I was just there's some questions on Finger. That's all. I just tried to get you to.
Oh yeah, no. Listen, I wanted to let people know about the Richard Hoffman and his videos about Alpine, so people can ask about that, because GTI is drifting. I had friends of mine that just bought a lot of stock up to $1.37, and they bought more at 90, and they're just accumulating it. And it's just, listen, when it turns, that's how they do it. Whether it's, I talked about this morning. I posted about NVIDIA. If you had to scoop on NVIDIA when it was $230 on March 7th, would you wait to buy it at $450, or you would have bought it at $230 back then? Just so people understand, and everyone clean your ears on this one. The hardest thing to do when you're dealing with this security fraud of these animals is to get into a stock early. What does that mean? Well, if you bought finger motion 4 years ago, you probably paid $3 for it. Here we are. It's 5 years later, 4 years later, the stock is $5. And the company's 1,000 times bigger, stronger, better than it ever was. So getting in early didn't pay off, right? Has no value that you got in early. The hardest thing to do into a stock is get in early and sit through everything you see. There's no reward because naked short sellers, as the company's starting to grow, they give it no value. There's no premium for your time. You have to sit there and suffer and say, I'm in this stock, it's doing, everything is great. How does it never move? Right? Until the knockout punch comes and then it explodes. And by that time, you're disgusted and you walk away. That's what the naked shorts do. They just get people to give up, they get disgusted, and they walk away. Like they're trying to do in GTII. I had some idiot trying to reach out. He's got 20 followers telling me that I'm bagging everybody. I don't want to tell you what I told him to do.
Well, I mean, isn't the proper place to turn their anger on the people that are helping the Kramers and Alpine short, and FINRA that doesn't do anything, and SEC that condones it? It's not.
Well, look at it this way. If I was a basher, if I was short, and I thought and I knew I can win, I'd be throwing a party for everyone that's on this phone. I'd be throwing parties every week for investors and keep telling the story. Why are they so angry and they want people to sell all the time? Right? They need to get the stock down so they can cover. The truth is, if it was me, if I was the short sell, I'd throw parties every week. Come on in, guys. Dinner's on me at the Kramer Steakhouse. Come on down. Let's talk all the positive things. Let's get this stock higher. And then short all you want, right? But they don't. It's the opposite. They're angry. They call you names. They want you to begging people. You do this, you do that. And meanwhile, all we're doing is calling the police to help protect everybody. And yet they continue to throw that nonsense out of people. All they want to do is get you to think about what you're doing and beg you bail out, which you're entitled to. I could care less. But they do it in all names. Go look at it. And they always say, good companies, companies with no prospects don't have any bashes. They all in the good companies, right? Companies that have a chance for major upside, you get people bashing it all the time. I don't understand why. If you want to short it, let us pump it up, and you can short it higher. But they don't want that because they can't carry these positions forever, and they're exposed. All right? Think about you're a bank robber, and you're standing in the bank. The bank robbers don't go into the bank and eat a sandwich. They're trying to move as quick as they can. They actually have a guy outside called a getaway driver. Right? They want to get away fast. They don't even want to waste any time turning the key on the car. They want to make sure the car is running. But in the case of naked short selling, they can't get out. They're all trapped. The only way to get out is if a company gives them or dilutes itself and they can cover or reverses the stock, in which cases their positions get reversed lower. All right? That's what they're hoping for. They want the companies, with the assist of the naked shorts, to actually commit suicide. That's their game plan. Let's kill these companies just doing these little tricks by diluting it down, pushing it below $1, get them kicked off the NASDAQ, get a couple of people to post on Twitter and whatever site they're on, and get people to panic out, create misinformation. And that's why I wanted Anna on the phone today to give us an update what's going on in D.C. And to me, we were in D.C. This is going to get positive, and it's going to start to steamroll soon. And the SEC knows it's coming. All right? That's not a joke what's going on down there. They know it's coming. And Gary Gensler's got to get in front and answer a letter back to these people who are now being educated about naked short selling. Right? This isn't something that's done in a dark room anymore. They all know about it. Did you have anything, William?
Well, one guy's asking, he doesn't quite understand why the shorts would want the price to go up if they are having margin problems.
Wait.
It
The
answers
shorts don't want
itself.
it. The shorts cannot let it go up
Right.
because they have margin monies. They cannot let it go
That's right.
higher, and that's why you see the attacks to push it down all day long. Every trade is always a sell, whatever it may be. If it goes up, they get margin calls. When it got to 7, somebody was standing there with a gun to their head, and they said, you got 5 minutes to get this stock lower or you're going to get shot. And that's when they attacked it down to 4. The stock bounced back up. It got to 6. And once again, they're trying to push it back down. This time it has a different look of pushing it down. It's more of a walk down versus the attack. All right? So again, at $7, their head is in the guillotine. All right? Over here, they got some breathing room, but they're just trying to create that moment of doubt. That's what they're trying to do now, and that's what they're trying to do in GTII. It's the same pattern. It's just back and forth, trying to sell it lower, 200 shares back and forth. Remember, when they sell shares back and forth to each other, they can have account A, who is short, buying stock. They hit it, they sell it to themselves. It's a wash trade. So account A is now flat and can actually deliver shares that they just purchased. So that buys more settlement time. But all these little tricks cost money. Nothing is free. So these guys are just eating themselves alive, and every day that we're alive, they keep losing money. Right? And that's the game. For example, GTI right now, someone just took a bid for $11,963, and the offer is $1,460. As you can see, that's probably the shorts on both sides, and you can tell by the odd numbers. Not the 11,000, the 963 on the buy side and a 460 on the sell side. Those are the shorts on both sides. That's how they communicate with each other. All right? But again, accumulation is how you kill these guys. Walking it up nice and slow. Never spikes. They love spikes because a quick spike of 50 cents, they push it right down. This morning, the stock had a quick spike to 546. Not a penny more, and they tried to push it right back down to break $5. Don't ask me what it means, what's the big deal, but it's obviously they're not giving you the discount. They're giving you a discount for a reason, is because they have to move the stock lower. That's the only reason.
So he's asked, following up and saying, you always say a real short wants it to go up. Maybe you can explain your...
Well, a real short has the money to back their transactions. These guys do not have the money. So basically, the gentleman that's asking me these questions, he can be the part of the naked short, and I'll play the part as the real short. He's short all these shares, and if he looks, he says, I don't have the money. If it goes up a penny more, I can't put any more money in. I have no money. So what does he do? He tries to push it lower by selling more lower, and that gives him breathing room. All right, before the repo man comes to take away his car, right? It needs some breathing room. That's why they push it down all the time. It never goes up. It's always pushing down. The stock this morning, VTGN, after they squeezed it, the short got bought in. New shorts came in. No longs were buying it up there, right? Who would go chase the stock that was $1.80, $1.60, or $1.70, sorry, and say, I'm going to buy it at 50 today? Right? If you're doing that, then you need to go see a doctor because you're not going to be long anyway for the world. All right, so those are shorts playing on top of shorts. All right, that's the difference. A real short, which I did many short sales of major players, is when they sell a stock short, they want to sell it higher. They want to sell it at 82, 84, 86, 90. It doesn't make a difference because they know fundamentally that eventually, whatever their vision is, it's going to pan out in their favor. So they want to get more money. The naked short sellers don't care about the money. They'll take less. They want less. They could care less. They want the stock to go lower. They want the company to reverse. They want the company to dilute. They want to offer the money, these toxic loans. They do everything they can to try to destroy the public companies. All right. They tried to do this to this ASRE, which I'm watching now, starting to trade up again. And they tried to, I guess, naked shorted it down to Kramer's. For $69,000, they were destroying Astra Energy, whatever that is. Okay? They didn't, I could care less. The stock was $4. Who knows where they're short at? I have no idea. But they're pushing it, and now they have a problem because now they're exposed and they can't cover. And the company put it out in 8K filing that they paid off their loan. That is pretty official from the company side. Now the thieves can go out here and post on Twitter, oh, the company's a scam, the CEO's a creep, he steals from his mother. Yeah, they'll say anything. All right? They'll yell fire. That's the next leg because now they're trapped. And that's the same Kramers that we posted their family, all their pictures that they wanted everybody to see, enjoying life. These are the guys. All right? So if you say, oh, how could the Kramers still be alive? It's a great question. Now they're short this name. Now they got two fires. How many know? I don't know how many more. I don't really follow them that close. I really don't care. But again, here's a company that no one knows about, and they figured it out and says, hey, you know what? We're paying these guys back. And they, you know, if they put together their credit cards, they raised $70,000 and took care of it. There you go. That's what the same thing happened to the Boy, Sam, Frank, Charlie. They paid off Lynn Partners. Now they're NASDAQ compliant. The stock has run to $2 today. They got a new lease on life here. And you know where it comes from? Paying off Lynn Partners. Nothing else. They didn't do anything else. They just paid off the loan, the toxic note. It's amazing. Pay off the toxic note. Mark Bazile said it. That's always leads to the criminals. It's always tied to the criminals. Next, any other questions?
Yeah, there's a few things here. One guy's asking, is Vocal going bankrupt? You wouldn't know that, but you know, it's another question on Vocal.
Well, again, it's we all own the stock. You know, my daughters, my cousins, everybody owns it. So again, I can't fight 20 fires at the same time. I can't fight every battle every 2 seconds. You know, that's the company CEO has to take charge and fix himself, and things will work out. It worked out for ASRE. It's working out for BSFC. You know, he's got to do it himself. So again,
he's working on it. He's working on it. I think he's working on it. Can a price action in the pre-market or after hours cause a margin call?
Yes, it can. But again, you never see it in our names. If the stock's up pre-market, as soon as it opens, it's down. Right?
Right.
It takes a second. Whatever they do pre-market, it's the opposite on the opening.
Right.
It's the complete opposite. You know, they were trying this morning. Someone texted me that figure they were offering it at $4.90 this morning. You know, 500 shares. If you were short 164 million shares, what's the big deal to sell another 500 down 50 cents? Right? Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're just trying to, hopefully, that if they offer it there, that everyone would follow their 500 for sale and just sell it.
What makes you so confident that we are close this time?
Well, I've been doing this 23 years. I think, you take it with a grain of salt, but I'm confident. I'm very confident. But that's up to you. You make your own decisions on it.
One guy's asking, isn't it in Jeffrey's best interest to help lend out? How can we see?
Yes, they're going to help him out. Yes, Jeffries is going to help lend out and jeopardize their whole business to help lend partners. Listen, I know a guy, I'll go get a murderer, and you could put your family, you could put your house up as a bond and see if you hope he doesn't run away. You want to help him out? I'll go find one, see if you can help him out.
Now. Apparently,
I'm just giving you an opinion, that's all.
There's a gentleman out there saying that AMC is going to be the biggest squeeze in history. What do you think of AMC? Or you don't have to talk about it.
The numbers are there. We all know it. Just that the CEO is a putz. That's all I can tell you about that.
Do you think?
If the CEO of AMC was the woman from DBMM, I think you would have had the squeeze already. If the CEO of AMC was me, I guarantee you would have had the squeeze already. He turned his back on you. So again, I don't know how you support someone who turns their back on you, but that's, Did he make money making sales, that guy?
Of course, right? Of course.
I mean, so he's
and
in
he's
a different
set.
place.
He's set for life.
And you're sitting here cheering him on. Again, I wouldn't mind if he made money and he took our back. But he made his money and he doesn't have your back. I posted the picture of a friend that we know who's in a football game with his son at the Kansas City Chiefs game, telling him to do something, and he said, no thanks. We asked him that day, because I tried to help out the AMC crowd.
Do you?
And here you are.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm saying, and here we are today. I hope it goes to the moon for you. Believe me, no one wants it to go more than me. I go to the movies all the time. I make my donation. I'm not buying the stock. I go to the movie theater and make my donation to support AMC. I do. I love going to the movie theaters. The shorts don't like it. They hope you die of cancer, never see a movie, and you name it, they could care less.
Somebody's saying that there's some proof of the finger manipulation, so you're not all talk. You got that going for you.
There's proof?
There's some sort of proof.
I can't see it.
I don't know what it is. It's ALFI. I don't know what that is. Alfie. Anyway, do you think the SEC can shut down the German pipes, the German criminals? That article you read out about the frog.
Right.
Do you think the SEC can get any traction in shutting that all down?
I do believe that there's enough heat now that listen, I'm sure this has been going on for a few years. They know about it. Okay? I think that they just can't figure out where the money's gone. I know where it's gone. All those guys driving around in the south of France on fancy boats, spending money on parties, that's where all the money's going. That's where it's all gone, These guys are buying houses around the globe. It's all been stolen.
Yep.
And now you're looking at it, and everybody's going to be left holding the bag. And that's why I told you, finger motion, GTII is the Battle of Gettysburg. We get over the hill, and we kill them all. That's how important this is.
Yeah, it's like our economy sprung a leak. Trillions of dollars pumped in to help us out. It all goes over there to these young punks.
All these guys are running around, stealing money, acting like they're giving their business cards out, and, this is who we are. You got to remember, they feed their own beast. They have to pay their brokers. They have to pay people around them. It's a business that costs them a lot of money, but they're stealing so much. That's what they're doing.
Somebody's asking, is this the same group that shorted Torchlight? Who knows? It's a lot of different people now.
I'm sure Torchlight. The German exchanges have been going on a long time. They're nonsense, But I'm sure from the Torchlight days, like I said, I remember when it squeezed, I called up John and said, congratulations. And years later, he pops up again at MMTLP, and I said, what the hell is this? I thought you were gone. And he said, no, this is what happened. And that's how I learned about that.
So, fingers 512, how does that make you feel? That's what a shrink would ask you.
So, again,
514.
It doesn't make a difference. Believe me, no one wants to see their account a bit of red thing. That's what they're trying to do. They're going back and forth with 200 shares back and forth. There are people scooping shares up in the middle here. But as soon as a buyer buys it, the next ticket's always down. Right?
It's relatively low volume, I think. I'm having a hard time seeing it.
Listen, I'm sure
500,000.
I'm sure today, out of 500,000 shares, at least I'll say 75 to 150 was make-believe wash trades.
Yep.
Because when there's nothing going on, they need to make activity so people think that there's something going on. That's what they're doing in GTI right now. There's no selling. There's no selling. These guys just they put a bid up and they hit the bid and they do it to themselves. It was bid before for 11,000, whatever the number I told you, the odd lot. Well, the guy that was offering sells it to him, and that's called a wash trade. It's back and forth. Then the person who gets hit at 79 cents, he turns around, he offers it at 80 cents. So it's just basically they're just shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic is what they're doing.
One person's asking, and I mean, I can add my answer, but one person is asking, is it a good time now to transfer brokerage firms when you're in the middle of a possible squeeze? My experience is
you open an account and you can send out a portion of your account to make sure it keeps transferring. That's the way to do it.
Well, I also, back when, I don't know if it's changed, you trade your original account until it transfers, and it goes, I think they used to call it DTC. DTC. It goes, you got a notice right away, and you can start trading at your new account. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, like I said, if you're nervous about it, you just call up E-Trade, say, hey, I got 25,000
People are asking
shares.
about the sorry, I cut you off. Sorry about that.
Just call up and you say, I can transfer 10,000 shares, and they can, de-whack it over electronic transfer, and you'll see it pop up in the other account. That's all.
Yeah. People are asking about this S1, which I printed out, which was simply finger firing Lynn Partners, basically. But
listen, William, look at it this way. Everyone's always concerned that when a company has a spike in the stock, that the shorts are going to call them up, which they do, and say, we'd like to give you money, we'll buy stock from you, anything.
right.
If the company doesn't have a registration statement, the company can't do anything for you.
Right.
So that's the message they send to the street. We're not helping you out. That's what it tells me.
Which is fantastic.
It is off the charts fantastic. GTII, I don't know about the registration statement, whether they had one or I don't know. But the CEO has stood tall for 3 years. So again, we know he's proved that he's not taking the money. All right, he had his opportunity. Stock went to 9, and the guy didn't sell you out. He should have, because that's what every other CEO does, right? All right, every CEO I know when the stock runs, they all raise money, correct?
That seems to be a pattern there.
It is the pattern. It's 100% the pattern. And this guy didn't take the money, so he stood tall. So again, you know what it is. Again, finger motion, put it in writing. We're not taking any money. We're here for you. That's what it tells me.
So on the S1, when that registration statement on behalf of Lynn Partners is in place, Lynn Partners feels free to short the stock with counterfeit shares. Why, now that it's gone, why are they still selling is the question.
Well, this is a little long in the game now. Lynn Partners has been trapped for a while now.
Right.
Okay. So I'm sure Finger Motion has let them know, take a walk, and it takes time to get rid of them, right? So now they got rid of them, they're done, and now Lynn Partners has no choice. Where are they going? What are they doing? Right?
Right.
That's why. What would you just think? Just look at the pattern. GTII has nothing to do with Finger Motion, and if you look at the trading patterns, do they look the same? For me, they do. It's always push it down, sell it down, sell it down. If it pops up, it got to 137 the other day, right? A couple days, a week ago, whatever it was. How fast did they push it back down? Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, right?
Right.
Same patterns.
I think that's all the questions we have.
Well, listen, everyone. I'm glad I got a chance to do this, and you got me off a very boring conference call to get up to this call. So I appreciate your time, and we'll touch base tomorrow, and hopefully we get some news from the SEC today, tomorrow, DOJ, somebody. All the stuff is in our favor, okay? It's just a matter of when the regulators start to hang these guys. All right?
Yep. Okay.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
night. I'll
Ham.
speak to you later.
All right. Bye. Don't play that song to me. How many shorts are there? Shorts and naked shorts. I don't know what that means. Woody, I hope that trade works for you. Of course, it's your right to make that transaction. If Jeff does another S4 7 trade days, the ex-dividend comes in 3. Well, I mean, he's obviously getting out while the getting is good. Yeah, I'm not very upbeat. My dog can't walk last night. He's falling down, and anyway, it comes to every dog, but I'm just dealing with that. He's sleeping here, but it's pretty. It just came just like that. I thought it would be gradual. Well, I do not recommend selling Logic, but if those of you who have to put it in finger, I can't blame you. But Logic for the, I don't know, it's kind of boring to tell you, but Logic at 20, I don't know what it's selling for. Yeah, I don't know what how I'm gonna. Anyway, it's just a process. So Logic's 29 cents, and I think Logic can go from here to in the space of 3 to 6 weeks, can go to I'd say $1.50. But it'll probably fall short of that. But let's just use the $1.50 to start with. And let's, instead of calling it 29 cents, let's call it 30 cents. So that's a 5x I expect to see in Logic very soon. I'd say by the middle of September, you could see a 5x in Logic. So 29 cents becomes $1.50. But let's just say it's 3x. 29 cents becomes 90 cents over the next 3 to 6 weeks. Just modest. If you're right about Finger, which I think you are going to be, Finger could give you a much larger run than Logic in the short run, in a squeeze. But I think Logic could have, by the end of the year, but let's say by the end of 12 months, I think Logic could be up 30 times. So it's, I really think that the inability of the SEC to act quickly, the lack of trust in the SEC, has caused people to believe that everything is a COSM or a CLNV or a MULN or and that's just the state of our markets, and it's a tragedy. Logic is distributing its engine, Data Logic, into the Aubrey SPAC. And that's what the SEC is well, that's what's currently before the SEC. That approval could come any single day. And it is a transfer into the Data Logic engine, is a transfer into Aubrey SPAC at a price of $10 a share for Aubrey SPAC. It's $114 million. Roughly, Logic has just under 100 million shares, so it's about $1.14 a share at $10 a share. Look where Aubrey SPAC is trading right now. It's $11.50. So I think something's happening. There's got to be a reason why Aubrey SPAC's going up. My guess is that not only are they going to be able to announce that the SEC has given their okay on the acquisition of the Data Logic AI technology engine, whatever you want to call it, into a NASDAQ traded Aubrey SPAC, NASDAQ traded. Not only do I think that's going to be announced, and maybe that's why the stock's up, but what this implies to me is Aubrey SPAC and the management at Logic have been very busy bees screening dozens of small, private, and medium-sized, maybe larger, technology companies for acquisition. There's been difficulty for these teams who have worked for 5 years or longer or less successfully. They were expecting to monetize their work and their options and warrants as part of their salary in the IPO market. The IPO market doesn't really exist. It exists, but it's not the way it was. So companies like Logic and then GoLogic are seeing deal flow they've never seen before, and they can pick the cream of the crop. So I have a feeling the reason the stock price is up, and it's only a feeling. I had a girlfriend tell me once when I told her I loved her, she said, "Oh, that's just a feeling. What are feelings?" So anyway, what are feelings? But at 11.50, up from 10.30 or 10.60, I think the stock price in Aubrey SPAC might be telling you, one, somebody has a sense that the SEC is about to approve the deal, but more importantly, that the other deals they're looking at might be pretty exciting too. And remember, Data Logic's revenue is doing nothing but growing, so they may have a sense of the next earnings on that. So I'm very bullish on Logic and GoLogic, but I understand trading, and I think if I were in somebody's shoes, I'd rather get out of AMC and go into Finger than get out of Logic, because I think Logic's on the verge of a 3 or 5x uplift. If anything, I'd be buying Logic now. Okay, GoLogic. I don't like GoLogic so low. All right, let's look at GoLogic. I can't help you up soft 88. That sounds like a feeling. And if you don't like it, I can't change that. But let's see what GoLogic. So in other words, up soft, you're saying that these manipulated markets, that the stock price is telling you all you need to know. You don't have to do any due diligence. You don't have to study the announcements. You don't have to understand the macro issues. It's all in the stock price. And so the stock price is low. Obviously, there's something wrong. Well, that's one way of looking at it, and I have to respect that. GoLogic is a similar story to Logic, and that's no surprise because they have the same management team at the titular level. But I've asked for, and I haven't received yet, a breakdown of the next steps with GoLogic in a more with more clarity. But GoLogic, let's see if I can find the announcement just so you can see it. It hasn't changed, but I guess with the price down, the deal must be bad. Someone on the short side's done some due diligence, so their selling means it's a bad deal. GoLogic announced GoLogic, a U.S.-based global provider of fintech and consumer data analytics, has signed a definitive agreement for a planned purchase of its fintech assets, all of its fintech assets, by Recruiter.com. Recruiter.com is a NASDAQ company. It's a definitive agreement. This was announced on June 6th. It's now August 7th. Recruiter is getting CreateApp, PayLogic, GoLogic, at Atazgo, Radix businesses. They're getting, the entire description is a suite of mobile commerce, e-wallet, and mobile payment and big data analytics platforms, AI. GoLogic is set to receive a common stock of Recruiter.com equal to approximately 84% of Recruiter.com, with existing Recruiter share stockholders getting 16%. The agreement values the combined companies at $105 million, substantially above the current market cap of Recruiter.com. Okay. And then there's a release that I don't know if they break it down. I'll just tell you, the CEO of Recruiter spoke at length about how he had screened 25 deals. His symbol is RCRT, and he realized that he's working with a banker. He realized that his shell, his trading company, NASDAQ, has more value than it was receiving as part of his company. So he decided to put that up for grabs. And he screened, here it is. NASDAQ listing, RCRT, 19 cents. Now, there's a lot going on with GoLogic that I'm not sure I'm allowed to say, and I'm not sure that I could say it in a clear, concise way. But the fintech operations of GoLogic are going to go into recruiter.com at that valuation I said. Now, there's going to have to be some sort of ratios involved, and they're going to have to make sure that this price of recruiter.com is well above $1, maybe $1.50. So the ratios, and you know, rather than waste your time doing it, but the reason GoLogic might be down is that when arbitrageurs, such as they are, look at that deal they struck and they see that Recruiter's at 19 cents, maybe it implies when they do the I don't have it printed out. When they do the valuation, I forget what it was. I just read it out. I'd have to take the number of shares of Recruiter, which I guess I can tell you. The market cap of Recruiter right now is according to Yahoo, it's under $4 million, $3.4 million. The number of shares are 17 million outstanding. So they've got a really low valuation. The deal was struck. Let me go find it again. I'm wasting everybody's time, but I'm sorry. I just don't remember what they said. Recruiter.com ignites a new era of AI-powered growth with strategic corporate restructuring and anticipated acquisition of GoLogic fintech assets. Let me just find what the deal was worth. I can't find it, and so I'm having a hard time fleshing out my thought to you. But one of the reasons GoLogic might be down is because these geniuses are assuming if they can keep shorting Recruiter, short GoLogic down, they can bust the deal, or they can screw up the ratios, or whatever the valuation that was announced, that maybe it's going to involve issuing more shares. I don't know. Whatever's in their head is wrong. It's all wrong. I know it doesn't feel good, but I'm going to just finish by this, because I was promised a breakdown of what's coming and I haven't received it. And I'd like to do a video, and I will promise to do a better job on explaining GoLogic. But GoLogic is one stock. It's going to become two. They're distributing the fintech assets to recruiter.com. On that side, I believe recruiter.com is going to see an uplift in its price, possibly before the agglomeration comes. On the other side, you'll have this GoLogic shell out there. They had a very large company, much like it's so similar to Logic. They had a large acquisition for that. I've heard, but I do not know for sure, that there is a better deal, a much better deal, that they're going to put in that GoLogic shell. And there's also, similar to Logic, there's several companies, some of which have been announced, one in Vietnam, a couple in Australia, that are going to roll up into that GoLogic side. So for GoLogic now, you're going to get shares in what's called recruiter.com right now. I think they'll change the name. And you'll have shares in the shell GoLogic, which is acquiring many, many deals. I can't describe that to you right now. One, I'm not sure I know all of it. Two, it hasn't been given to me to be able to describe. What do I think will happen to the price? Let me just say this. The CEO of Logic, Brent Sun, and the CEO of GoLogic, Brent Sun, same person, introduced the CEO of FingerMotion, Martin Shen, to the possible investment bank who everyone is talking about. So there's a lot of ifs and suppositions there. But if that group is going to make a successful deal with, and it's involved, I guess, somehow, it might be a separate bank with the recruiter.com sign. What's to stop them from showing interest in GoLogic, which is primarily has its center of gravity in Southeast Asia, and that part of the Pacific. It also it's all worldwide too, but it has that focus. It's a story to tell for Chinese investors and Hong Kong investors and Singaporean investors. So I wish I could give you a more succinct, better word would be a clearer description of what's coming from GoLogic. It's not because I haven't asked. I've asked a lot. I think it's because they have a lot of things in motion. But let me tell you this. GoLogic is Sorry, guys, I didn't expect that to go on that long, but I was getting information. So I took the opportunity to listen. I can't tell it all to you. One, because it's extraordinarily confusing. Two, it wasn't 100% clear. But I can say the feeling at Logic and Aubrey SPAC is the approval of the S4 is imminent. In fact, I'm going to check it as I'm talking to you right now. That's not really new news, but it's really interesting confirmation of what I was trying to tell the other gentleman earlier. No, nothing yet that I see. But so that's huge. The other thing is he did confirm, which is not new news that isn't out there, but he did confirm that there are many companies being screened, and it's the impression, the general impression, that there may be several companies ready to go. There's a gentleman named Peter Bordes who's been announced. He's the anyway, he took senior positions at Logic. And so I think you're going to see a series of acquisitions. And then GoLogic is where it got still very confusing, but it's all basically the same story. And I think my impression is both deals, GoLogic and Logic, you don't have to wait very much longer. So for everybody that's in Logic, in GoLogic, I think you're going to see action in the very near future. There's right now 3 companies that you can invest in: Logic, LGIQ, which is 30 cents; GoLogic, GOLQ, which is, I don't know the bid ask, but it's I think it was 64 cents. Let me just look at the ask price because that's more that's a fairer representation of what you would probably have to pay. 90 cents. But the last trade is 64 cents. So, I don't know. Somewhere around 65 cents, maybe as high as 90 cents. GoLogic. And the other one is RCRT. And that's trading at 19 cents. I have a feeling all 3 of those stocks are going to be higher over the next 4 to 8 weeks. Because I think the news that we've all been talking about, waiting for, that's been announced, there's a lot of suppositions around it. We've had Brent on calls with us. So anyway, I think it's coming soon. What is the S4? What is the S4? What is the S4 for? What is the S4 for? What is the S4 for? And if there are 4 comments on the S4, what are those comments on the S4 for? This is what the S4 is for. On 9/9/2022, Data Logic, a provider of digital consumer acquisition solutions and a wholly owned subsidiary of Logic, today announced it has entered into a definitive merger agreement for a business combination whereby it will merge with Aubrey Merger Sub Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Aubrey SPAC. Upon closing of the combination, the combined company is expected to remain NASDAQ listed under the name Data Logic Inc. A business arrangement between Aubrey and DLQ will be affected through the merger of Aubrey and into DLQ. Upon the closing, change the name to Aubrey SPAC. Aubrey will issue 11.4 million shares in exchange for DLQ shares at $10 a share. The valuation of DLQ is $114 million. Any cash will transfer to NewCo. Transaction is expected to close in the first quarter of 2023. And here we are in the third quarter of 2023. But it's finally going to happen. Additional information about the merger, and including a copy of the merger agreement and other material documentation, will be filed by Aubrey with the SEC and available at www.sec.gov. Aubrey will shortly file an S4 registration statement with the SEC, which will contain a proxy statement prospectus in connection with this combination. That's what the S4 is. The SEC has to approve it. There's been a series of comments and questions given by the SEC. The last time they had something like 10 or 12 comments, just several weeks ago, 3 maybe. Aubrey answered and Logic answered. It is the impression, as I've been saying for weeks, but I now believe that you could see the approval of the S4 happen today, tomorrow, the next day. I mean, it still could take time, but I think it's coming right now. And I think it's a shame. Because, I mean, I think it's great. Awesome for Logic. Awesome. Just fantastic. But I think it's a shame for me because I wanted to buy some of it, Logic, when Finger ran. But it doesn't look like we're going to get that. Everything's going to go maybe at the same time. Jeff Tierman, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Aubrey, added, "We are very pleased to support DLQ's transition to the NASDAQ, where our management and capital markets experience, combined with Data Logic's AI-driven and digital consumer acquisition technology, is focused on accelerating growth and value for our stockholders. Our team shares Data Logic's vision that together we can take meaningful steps to shape the future of digital commerce interface through acquisition and experience enhancement. Gag me with a spoon." So that's what the S4 is. Anyone file for AST with their MMTLP? David Hart, I have tried for several months to get into AST through my broker. I'm not able to. If you are able to, my own recommendation is do it. If you can get into AST, do it. What's the risk? You risk having a chance to trade your shares. On the other hand, you can sleep at night knowing you're in them. This middle name, Iskevich. You're not Russian, are you? How will the Aubrey DataLogic merger affect our GoLogic stock? I don't think initially there's any visible connection, but I think one, credibility. Everybody, the shorts just keep selling, and everyone just, oh, we got screwed by popcorn, we got screwed by COSM, we got screwed by, I don't know, fill in the blank. So obviously we're getting screwed here. That mood will change overnight, because you will see that announced events, announced combinations, announced or promised approvals do actually come to fruition. And so I think that mood will go over to GoLogic. But no, I think GoLogic is on its own pace, because the banker, I forget his name, who introduced RCRT to GoLogic for the purposes of their fintech business being distributed into RCRT. That CEO, and I have it written down somewhere, but by memory, that CEO said, out of all 25 companies we screened, GoLogic was the best. This platform is the best for what we want to do. Management's the best. They can handle adding more companies. They can handle adding more revenue, and they can truly grow their company on behalf of all shareholders. So he's really happy with the roughly 15% of the company that his shareholders are going to be left with. I think there's a timing pressure to get that deal done in August as well. And it has nothing to do with the deal being done with the S4 approval with the SEC. That's just a happy coincidence. What's the difference between GoLogic and Logic? Well, at one time there was no difference. I purchased Logic years ago, traded it, paid much higher prices, lost money on it, and then I bought some at the end of 2 years ago. So that'd be December of 2021. I don't know when I bought it, but I still had stock in Logic at the end of 2021. GoLogic was Logic distributed some of its operations into a publicly traded company called Lavero, and it was done on a 1-for-1 stock basis at the end of December 2021. Those were restricted shares, though. Lavero changed its name to GoLogic. So Logic, leaving out that other name, Logic distributed on a 1-for-1 basis shares of GoLogic at the end of 2021. There were several things that Brent had to work on. There was also, I guess, some effect of COVID. There definitely has been an effect of a stock market that the door has shut or closed a little bit anyway on IPOs. And so and then the SEC took time. So the couple of things Brent did. He noticed that there was selling pressure on GoLogic. I'm getting the two stories. I'm getting the two stories wrong. That's what he did with Logic. So anyway, he did this for Logic at the time because we didn't have all these other names involved. He entered into negotiations with his partners, financial partners called Ionic, to get them out of their transaction. I received a letter from Ionic's lawyers, just to be clear, telling me that Ionic not only has never shorted shares ever in any fashion in Logic, they never short shares ever. I'm paraphrasing, but I would really hate to see that lawyer defend that letter under oath. But until I get a different letter, I have to go by that. Ionic doesn't short shares. But it took Brent months to negotiate that. That got resolved at the end of this year, the beginning of this year. GoLogic, meanwhile, continued to grow. They had operations in Vietnam. They had sort of food delivery by bike, all sorts of things. But the global shutdown changed a lot. So they were work hard to make acquisitions. So time did go by. We thought that the distribution from Logic from December 2021 would be trading in December 2020 in the year 2022. It didn't happen. Then we thought it would be the first quarter of 2023. It didn't happen. But now it looks like finally GoLogic, a distribution from Logic of 2 years ago, is finally going to be trading. Now, GoLogic primarily is in the fintech business and it looked like, getting into sort of the larger asset management business. I assume they're going to be continuing to do these kind of businesses. I'm not going to say the names because I think they've been publicly announced, but as I'm talking to you, I'm not sure. But there are agreements to collaborate along those lines. Basically, mobile, fintech, mobile tech, investment, all of that stuff. They primarily focused in Southeast Asia. But if you look at it, their target markets are young markets, and it's Africa, it's India, it's all over, but it's primarily there. The two companies are very similar in that they now have become sort of roll-ups of many technologies, and they're taking advantage, both of them, Logic and GoLogic, of the ability to roll up brain power, revenue, technologies in the fintech, artificial intelligence, all of that stuff that I can't really explain better than you can. But when GoLogic finally gets through this, Brent's going to probably step down, and it'll be two companies. We'll learn more over the next few weeks. GoLogic will be its fintech business under recruiter.com, and then GoLogic, we're all waiting to see. They apparently have narrowed down the companies they might associate with to 4. So we're all waiting to see what that business will be. Logic, obviously, once was the parent of GoLogic, so Logic also had all those characteristics. But now Logic is distributing its AI technology, what I just read to you, mobile apps, all of that, to the Aubrey SPAC. What we're waiting on to see is what the shell will acquire, which will benefit you, I think, to the tune of 50 cents a share or more. And then that's added to the Aubrey SPAC of $1.15. It's $1.60 a share. I'm sorry I'm not any clearer on that answer, because some of what I've been told I'm not sure that I can talk about. And then the rest of it is so up in the air, we won't know until they actually make their announcements. But all of that's coming. So I would just say that GoLogic and Logic are very similar companies, very similar. They both have exciting management teams. They have bankers embedded in the companies to help with the acquisitions. They both intend to grow very rapidly, and I think both stories could be, $150 million in revenue combined. What I mean is GoLogic is going to become two companies. Just looking at that as if it were one. Logic is going to become two companies. Just looking at if that were one. I think they both will go over 150 million in revenues on a run rate basis within the next 12 months. And I think in a couple of years they could be much higher, $250 million in revenues. They're both very exciting companies. We will get more clarity as the announcements come. I have wanted to do videos on both. I've spoken to some people there to help me, and I just assume they're really, really busy because they promised to send me a summary that I could use for that video, and I haven't gotten it. As soon as I get more information, I'll do videos, and I'll be better at answering your question. I expect both to give you between 3 and 5x, let's say within the next 3 months, and maybe as high as as high as 30. 30x, if I'm doing that number right. Anyway, I'll just give you the numbers. I think the combined Logic could be $8 to $12 a share over the next 12 to 18 months, maybe sooner. And I think GoLogic, it's a little more confusing because they're going to have to do all this changing of the ratios, but I think it could be over $20 a share. So I'm going to stop there because I think I'm I'm sorry that I kept talking so much. I apologize. But where is the letter located? Where is the letter located? This letter? This letter? Is that the one you're asking about for finger motion, this letter? I don't know. Let me see who's asking me. CB. Is this the letter you're asking about? August 1 finger motion? If it is, I'll just show you how to get it. What was the as finger? So you go to sec.gov, company filings, August 1, registration withdrawal request, and there's the letter. Filed with the SEC. Oh, the letter for the SPAC? I don't see a letter for the SPAC, but let me see. I mean, I find it all a little bit confusing even when I start talking about it. But you can see at the SEC, the Aubrey SPAC already has a meeting of shareholders document, and they're ready for the vote. It's already filed. They also put up preliminary proxy materials, and you can get this all at sec.gov. Why am I so wonderful to you? I don't know that I am. I think I'm quite obtuse sometimes. I don't know the answer to that. The SPAC logic notice. The SPAC logic notice. The SPAC logic notice. The SPAC logic notice. Okay. Let me see where I can find that. I can't find it, but it was announced. The acquisition of Data Logic was announced in the news on approximately September 9th. And you can find it under Yahoo. You can find it at OTC Markets. You can go to SEC Gov. Unfortunately, SEC Gov doesn't list it by date. So you kind of have to guess. And I feel like that would take too much time. You can also go to Finger Motion's website. You can look up Aubrey SPAC on Yahoo too, and you can find the news announcement. In there may be a link. If there isn't, you go to sec.gov and you can look up. You can look up. You can look up. I don't know how to look it up. Go by the date, but the problem is, go by the S4 or go by the 8Ks. You can look it up, and you can print it all out. It'll be hundreds of pages. Thank you, Goodwill Trading. I appreciate that. I woke up with this big noise, and he kept falling and it slamming, and he just, it's not good. And the floors are wooden, so he can't get his footing. Somebody at a pet store, she's knowledgeable, told me it could be this thing that begins with a V, and that after 24 or 48 hours, he might be okay. Never will be the same again, but might be okay. I'm a little, I bought the harness she had. It's not perfect. I'm a little nervous how I'm going to, because he can't walk. I walked him twice yesterday. And then now this morning I couldn't walk him, and anyway, it's kind of scary because it means a very blessed time. He is still just a wonderful, wonderful dog. The advantages and disadvantages of transferring NextBridge shares to AST. Well, I think people dance around this issue. And by the way, I'm not picking on them. I own NextBridge. I own MMTLP. And in my own life, one of my ways of avoiding stress, I guess, is I avoid issues sometimes. So I'm not picking on people, but so 165 million shares that which MMAT delivered of NextBridge to the DTCC. It may be it went first to the AST. It doesn't matter. It ends up at AST. AST, and I've seen these documents, so I know AST maintains a record. Somewhere here I have one from a company I've been involved in. They send out the transfer agent is able to give to the company NextBridge and hang on one second. So they're able to give. They're able to give. The transfer agent is able to give to NextBridge they give a list, and the list basically has broken down by name. Your Jane Doe, John Doe, Hunter Doe, your names, all of the shares that are held in the name of the shareholder. It can be corporate names, it can be LLCs, it can be trusts, but they have that list and they send it to NextBridge. Then they can send to NextBridge street name. There's 100 million shares broken up. Merrill Lynch has 25 million. Schwab has 50 million. Morgan Stanley has 25 million. That's street name. That doesn't tell NextBridge who their shareholders are. That's the limbo you're in. That's the limbo I'm in. For the last decade, Wall Street has transformed the financial markets into fraud. And your account has been expanded, my account, by an attempt, in my opinion, to replicate fractional reserve banking as it comes to cash banking in the securities markets. There are some problems with it, though. Cash is cash. But securities have voting rights, they have dividends, all manner of things. But this is a way for Wall Street to expand assets under management, to cheat you, to cheat me. And it's been working as long as the SEC has been captured. Now, what is the result of it? What happens in any stock there may be 100 million shares. By the time Wall Street's done with it, this is all electronic in your account. There may be 900 in the system. Well, how does this happen? It happens because no trades are settled. It's outright fraud that Gary Gensler condones because it benefits Goldman Sachs, in my opinion. Everything's my opinion. But you don't notice it because in your account, just like your bank statement, in your account from E-Trade, your account shows 10,000 MMTLP. Well, your account shows 1,000. I think it changed its symbol. Shows you how old I am. But it shows 10,000 MMTLP, 1,000 AMC, 5,000 Exxon. I think it changed the symbol to something with mobile. But anyway, this all shows in your account. There's a dollar value, and you go home, you say, God, I'm worth $250,000. Yay! And you have no worries. Well, little do you know that half of the Exxon that you own is counterfeit, and all of the MMTLP is counterfeit. So you just don't know. So the thing everyone is avoiding is NextBridge has 165 million shares available from MMAT. They use American stock transfer. American stock transfer. I'm just going to guess. Let me do it by number. So at American Stock Transfer, I'm making this up, there's 125 million shares already recorded in specific shareholders' names. NextBridge knows it because AST is the agent for NextBridge. They know that. Then there's an entry that says, broken down, I'm being simplistic, 40 million shares at Merrill Lynch in street name. NextBridge doesn't know who these shareholders are. It's a private company. So NextBridge is saying, well, who owns our shares? Well, here's the problem. Not here, not there. It's right here. Why? Because that 40 million shares, there might be 400 million shares trying to get into 40 million shares. And that's why you're getting a song and dance. So the dirty little secret is, when you ask me, am I moving my shares to AST? We don't own shares. We don't own them. So if you get an offer from your brokerage firm, and it's my understanding that Fidelity is making such an offer. Was it Fidelity? That to transfer your shares to AST, I would do it. Because then you know you own the shares. So my number one pro of moving shares to AST is you know you own the shares. You're in then. That means you get dividends. If it's acquired, you make money. You get updates. It's all good as far as I can tell. And the other benefit of being at AST it's tradable. If NextBridge ever becomes public, you can trade your shares, but you have to transfer them. But it's in the system. It's electronically in the system. That's the other advantages. So that's the two advantages I see of moving your shares to AST. The cons, I don't know how to phrase this one. The cons of not doing of doing it. These are the pros. You'll know you own the shares, and they eventually are tradable. Because they're electronic, you're in the system. The cons are you might miss out on a short squeeze. The other con is you might miss out on gray market offers from your broker dealer because they won't have you anymore. They won't call you. You're over here. So as they go down their call list and offer, $25 a share and season tickets to the opera, you're not on that list. And then your brokerage firm might be legally off the hook. So those are the three cons that I see. To me, to be in a company that's oil and gas, well managed, and I know I own the shares, it's worth it to me. But I don't have that option. I'm not being given that option at my firm. I do not have that option. So what's the other thing you can do? You can ask for paper certificate. It has the same problem. It has the exact same problem. We don't own anything right now. We tell ourselves we do. But I've been told I can get my shares in paper certificate form. What's the pros? I might be missing some, but the advantage of getting a paper certificate, you know that you own it and you have it, and it'll be recorded at the transfer agent. The cons are you could lose that certificate, but it's not a big deal. You can get it replaced. It costs you money though. It's nearly impossible, or at least it's highly expensive and takes a lot of time to get a paper certificate back into the electronic system. The barriers to getting it in are very high. That's a negative. You're going to miss all the trading or the settlement or the short squeezes, because you own paper, you can't trade it. And your brokerage firm might be let off of any legal liabilities. Those are the negatives. So leaving your those are the general negatives, by the way. McCabe has offered this distribution as an enticement to get people to move. That I think they just want to get a count. Obviously, if you don't move, I don't think you get that, and I've got to look that up because I've requested it for myself. So, what's the advantage of just staying at your brokerage firm? I think the advantage of staying at your brokerage firm is you know where it is. The firm and the system owes you the value of what it is. They owe you exactly what it is. Someone said bailment, maybe is the word, but they owe it to you. The United States system will settle up with you. Remember, MMTLP caught them out. The fraud that courses through the financial system now is never caught out, because if you sell, you get your cash. Maybe there's a delay while they locate shares, but you're going to get it. And I think leaving it in your account is a little bit of a set it and forget it situation. If the lawyers get a settlement, you're going to be paid out. If Gary Gensler enforces the laws, you're going to get a payout. If Nextbridge does a deal along the lines that I've described, you'll get shares. So by having it in your account, the brokerage firms will still be on the hook for sure. And I think the system is going to settle up massively in your favor. Unfortunately, being human beings, we somehow can't seem to put this out of our head. We're obsessing every single day. But in when you work through a broker dealer, you put up cash, you get the shares at settlement. That's the deal. And if you leave it in your broker dealer, that's what you're going to end up with. Now, they're going to have to come up with what is proper recompense here, unless Nextbridge issues shares like I've discussed. But the prime broker, the criminals work through the prime broker. The broker dealer took your cash, gave it to the criminals via the prime broker, and the broker took back from the prime broker a promise to pay, a promise to deliver, a failure to locate, an IOU. They took that IOU from the prime broker and put it in your account in lieu of real shares. But the broker-dealer calls the prime broker, oh, we're going to get it to you, don't worry, it's on its way. Broker-dealer goes, don't worry. And the criminals have your cash. Gensler doesn't care about this, by the way. But the prime broker and the broker-dealer trust each other. And you have been the victim of that trust. So I think the broker dealers should have known, and they should have gone to stronger attempts to get delivery of your shares. Well, Mark, I share your skepticism, but I can't think of a reason why the SEC would object. I can't think of a reason that they could say that this distribution can't be made. But the reason I tend to agree with you is that when GTII tried several, and the only one, by the way, that actually was working was the special distribution as a warrant. But we all heard the siren songs of better stocks out there. So I think they could block it. I think they could block it. But it doesn't, none of that changes. I don't know. You have to make your own decisions. I think it could be years. Could be years. If settlement, if you're in NBH, do you commit plus settlement? You know, David, there's two settlements that are out there right now, and it might end up being a combination of those two. But to me, right now, the whole thing is going the legal route. And that is one tumbling, massive, complicated beast. But if the settlement comes out of the legal framework, I think that it will be directed toward those shareholders who did not get into NextBridge. And I think it'll only be directed to those. If the settlement comes out of the financial system, in other words, it's directed by the financial system, I think the settlement would include those who are in AST, depending on the overall nature of the settlement. What I'm specifically referring to, I think if there were any cash distributions, they'd have to go to everybody, outside of the settlement. But I think lawyers on the criminal side are going to argue, hey, the people at AST, they got their shares. My client, Dewey Cheatham and Howe Securities, delivered. Well, that's not true. My broker dealer as a client, Dewey Cheatham and Howe's client is let's say it's me. I moved my shares to AST. They're going to argue I was fulfilled. The only thing it called for is I would either be able to trade my shares or get a share of NextBridge, 1-for-1, or whatever the ratio was. And so I don't think the lawyer is going to be very sympathetic that I get anything more. Where you get into a whole lot of gray areas is the halt in trading took away from me my ability to trade my shares in a frenzy, or not, but I think it would have been. I was willing to take that risk. And time and suffering and having my money locked up, those kind of costs and legal costs, those kind of costs might get distributed to me. But I think once you have shares at AST, the system has pretty much fulfilled its obligation to you. And I wouldn't be overly optimistic of a big payday otherwise. I don't agree with you, Big Alabama. If NextBridge sells to a big public company, you don't own shares. So what are you going to get? You're still in a legal morass. The benefit is there's a provable value that all lawyers can see, but they're going to argue, well, wait a minute, you don't deserve it. You didn't own originally Torchlight shares. Or they're going to say, hey, caveat emptor, you knew there was a problem. You don't get anything. Or they're going to say, hey, my client is a victim here too. Lawyers will say anything. Not all lawyers, but so there'll be a legal fight before you'll get any part of a buyout. Let's say Chevron buys NBH, and let's say Chevron pays $500 a share in cash and $500 a share in stock. So we'll call it $1,000. So let's just say that Chevron pays $165 billion and buys the 165 million shares. I'm isolating this to just our portion. Obviously, there's almost 200 million shares outstanding now, so they'd actually pay 200 billion. But I'm just focusing on where we are. The 165 million would buy out all the shares. But we're over here with 1 billion shares in the system. So we're now going to say to this system, we want $500 cash and $500 worth of Chevron stock. Because that was the deal these people got. So the system all of a sudden is going to have to come up with the system's going to have to come up with, in this example, 500 million shares of Chevron, or counterfeit them. Do you think Chevron's going to let that happen? Especially after lawyers are involved? And everyone's signing documents from here. If they were stacked, they'd go to Venus? Those shares don't exist. Then they got to come up with $500 million. The system. That might happen. This isn't going to happen. And lawyers will fight this all the way. So I don't agree with you. And on top of that, if a buyer comes in from Nextbridge, lawyers on the criminal side, lawyers on the prime brokerage side, lawyers on the broker-dealer side, lawyers on the insurance company side, lawyers on the DTCC side, hedge fund side, they're going to put Liz Pendens and they're going to put claims on Nextbridge. This is why my solution is the solution, but no one listens to my solution. They must buy to close at any price. Founder IBKR. At 68, I don't want to wait for NBH. Yeah, but see, that was true. Just to go back, the SEC took its sweet ass time approving the distribution by MMAT of metamaterials, Torchlight Partners as a distribution. When they finally did it, it was less than a week to go, by my memory, to the X date, to the record date. FINRA didn't have that long, and maybe it's just a rubber stamp of the SEC anyway. But FINRA got it out, to my memory, on Wednesday afternoon, with Thursday trading. Well, broker dealers, over 100 of them, looked at this and said, there's no way we can settle these trades by Monday the 12th. We can't do it. Now, your argument is they should have had that squeeze. Well, I submit to you that most employees at these brokerage firms do not understand how criminal Goldman Sachs is, Ken Griffin is, and Virtue, and the men out of Germany, and how captured the regulatory environment is. Most people on Wall Street are like you. They're honest. These are people that have abused the legal system, the financial system, with the help of the big boys, and they have taken what Reg Show was meant as a small period of time to solve this problem. They've opened it up wider than the Nile or the Amazon or the Mississippi. And I don't think the broker-dealers were prepared for something like this. How can we buy in all of our clients without notifying them? Without time. And FINRA didn't give them that time, or the SEC didn't. And then FINRA didn't know how to handle it. A bunch of, anyway, I'll keep my comments to myself. People that get there for other reasons than their talent in the financial markets. And they had no idea that you can't just carry the short position over into the new co. The fails to deliver, the fails to locate, the criminality. Why? Because it always happened before. And then here they're faced with a situation where they didn't have the answer. So there were hundreds and dozens more maybe of phone calls, and they froze. They just stopped trading. I do not believe you can recreate those emotions, that anxiety, that need to buy, that need to close positions, that fear, that compliance risk, that legal risk, that officer risk, that I'm going to lose my job risk, we got to do something risk, we better close this or we're in trouble risk. I don't think you can recreate it, even if you open up for 2 days now. And then it's the guidelines. Back then, you had the right to trade your MMTLP or have it become NextBridge. What right do you have now? You have the right to trade it, okay. But what's the countervailing weight? What's the thing that's going to induce them to buy? I no longer have a right to convert it into into NextBridge. What hammer do I hold over their head? Nothing. So I just don't think you're going to get. Not only that, I'm not sure you want to get 2 days of trading. I just don't see how you can create that short squeeze again. I think that ship sunk in the harbor. I think you can get one at a time, like finger. It's a good point, ring the bell. This has been this way since 1990. No, I don't agree. Science rules. I don't agree. I think, look, I know when I did a lot of trading that back when we had I had a lot of clients who asked for time to deliver their shares. And without overcomplicating it, after the initial request, you could usually get a total of 21 days. Back then, there was an active methodology, mainly by Bear Stearns, where you could just move trades around. But what was different in the 90s and the 10s or the aughts? You had trading desks. You had research. You had the uptick rule for much of it. You had compliance overlooking you. You had enforcement. You had paper certificates. You had safekeeping. All of this. And for a lot of it, we would trade in, well, maybe it changed just as I left. I can't remember. But for a lot of time, we traded in fractions. Then came Ken Griffin. Then came the light pipes. Then came the payment for order flow. But the biggest changes of all happened in 2008. The banks have consolidated down to 4. Money management, there are no brokers anymore. They just give it to ETFs or to other bigger money managers like Ken Griffin or BlackRock, huge pools of money which cannot get high rates of return. BlackRock now is going to reconstruct Ukraine. So is BlackRock going to have to get its returns by hoping the United States helps states around the world with taxpayer money to recover from war? So basically, BlackRock is going to be a ward of the taxpayer. Just like all the trillions of dollars that were funneled in because of COVID to prop up the markets. BlackRock's, it's socialism. But BlackRock doesn't want to take any risk. Well, if you think this guy, Matt Hastings, or whatever his name is, at Savvy, knew how to do this when he got out of school, that guy was thinking about girls and getting married. But he was taught by somebody, just like the Kramers were taught. These guys are lunkheads. There's no brain power in the Kramer family or in the Mayo family. They were taught. And then you've got this Jeff Easton, who's embarrassed to see his picture everywhere. He's a joke on Wall Street. Absolute joke. And you've got the scion of the wealthiest woman in Australia backing him. And I don't know what he's doing there. But it's trillions of dollars. It's all computerized at a speed no one can keep track of. There's no market makers anymore. There's a market maker exemption to facilitate the fraud. Everyone on Wall Street has electronic book entry certificates. Goldman Sachs came up with the F3 button, not back in the 90s, to elide the rules. Everything there's no uptick rule. The entire over-the-counter market is an orphan. It's completely the hunting ground of these guys. There's no real investment banks. They're all smilers that behind them, they just represent the short sellers. Because Jeff Easton couldn't raise $10 if he asked his mother for it. But when the shorts are behind him, hey, we've got all this money, we want to buy the stock. So no, I don't agree with you that it's been going on since 1990. I think it has accelerated from the 2008 financial crisis. Then the brokers firms put all the risk out in hedge funds, and they became money managers, and they set up prime brokers. And they went to work capturing the White House and Congress and the regulators. No, I don't. I think this is the last 10 or 15 year phenomenon. Yes, short selling's been going on since the 90s. Short selling went on since Cornelius Vanderbilt almost lost his entire empire. But this is a recent phenomena, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. This is greedy, sons of bitch, immoral, psychotic men who don't know when to stop. And that's their curse. Their curse is their dishonesty, their greed, their immorality, and they can't sate how badly they feel inside. So they just keep acquiring and acquiring and acquiring. Science Rules respectfully disagree. He owned Sedona. Well, that trumps me. That trumps me by a long shot. And you know what, Science Rules? Sometime I'd love to have you come on if you wanted to and just talk about it with everybody. Because if you own Sedona, you know a lot more about it than I ever did. I just think it's so much different now. There's no regulation. Who is, if I had a fail to deliver, I had Joan call me. I had Lily call me. Vern called me. George called me. Some regional hubbub called me. And then Tim, the big regional head honcho would walk in my office. Tim, I can't remember. David Vey. Well, I'll look into that Science Rules. I'm not sure I'm totally wrong. Sedona probably pushed the envelope as far as they desired, but I think it's been pushed much, much, much farther. But if Sedona traded through Germany, well then I have very little ground to stand on. So Science Rules, I think I think your experience trumps mine. That's my point, Science. There you go. I just think they've pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. I think back when Sedona did it, it was a lot of money. But we're talking trillions now. Trillions. Anyway. But Science, I'm not fighting you. You know better than I do. You know better than I do. And you don't, thanks for being respectful. You don't have to be respectful. Yeah, I know Chris Cox was part of it. And I think it's been facilitated by technology. It's been facilitated by the idea that Wall Street can regulate itself. And Wall Street's a tough place to make money. You're in competition with everybody. So if some people cut corners, they cut corners. It is too big. But Science Rules. I think if you go back and you see the intention of Reg Show in 2008 or 2004, whenever it was, it says that it's being implemented to provide time to fix the problem. I'm truncating it. And instead, it grew by magnitudes. Well, your grandpa knew Cornelius? That's pretty interesting. I don't even know if quadrillions would do it. And they created the warehouse, and they created, they're burning records. I'm not even sure if quadrillions would cover it, because I think it's a scary number of trillions every year. So if you're talking about buying in the open market, I don't see it. I'd love to. Science rules. It'd be great. I'd interview you and I'd keep my comments to a minimum. Love to have you talk about it. Well, it took the SEC 10 years. Reg Show is useless. The SEC is useless. You were robbed of that 2 days, David, but I think what's going to happen regarding those 2 days is there's going to be a long legal process to ascertain what did you really lose. And they're going to bring liars on the side of the criminals into court. And then the lawyers are going to tear to shreds any idea there could have been a squeeze. So it's going to be tough. And ultimately, after years, there'll be a settlement and the lawyers will get 40% of it or more. And by the time it's spread out, I'm not that optimistic, but so science rules. What's the word? You know, breaker. What's your handle? What's your handle on Twitter? But I'd like to set that up. I'd love to have you, like I do with Ham, or maybe we could do it on a call with somebody else. You know, I'd love to have you take the floor and explain to us what really goes on. I'd like to do that with Pedro Philly and anybody. That would fascinate me. Blue sheets will never get. Blue sheets will never get released the way you want them. They'll never get released the way you want them. I don't think. Big Al, if they release it and it shows that TD Ameritrade is short 75 million shares, then TD Ameritrade goes down, and then they got a bigger problem. I don't think they ever release the blue sheets the way you expect it to be done. Let me see what else is happening. Finger via warrior, finger in position of power or accumulation. Let me see where it's trading right now. $5.15. I didn't see. I wasn't surprised that the stock was down this morning. I think I even said they'd do that. I don't see any particular strength today. It does. I bet half this volume is crossing and fake, and then obviously somebody's stepping in and buying, but not a lot. I don't think Finger showed any particular strength today. On the other hand, I think the criminals weren't able to sell it off. Like Ham said, they're walking it down. And I think the walking it down provides a way to cross shares to help each other out. I think that's what's going on. All you need in Finger is one buyer or several buyers. And I think this can snap back to, $6, $7, $8 very quickly. It might be next week though. And I just had to come to peace with that it might be next week. These are very powerful criminals, and they can sell at any time, and they have the tacit approval of Washington to do so. What's this? I bought MMTLP. This is JM Mr. Photographic. I bought MMTLP with unsettled funds in a cash account. When they halted, I pulled my funds. They locked my account. Tried settling my shares to get security stay at halted. Wow, Mr. Photographic. Sorry, Tom. I know I got long-winded. If I could, Tom, I would transfer my shares to AST. That wouldn't even take me a minute. It takes me a little longer. Should I get certificates or leave it where it is? But Tom, I would forego possibly some sort of near-term liquidity event. That's the other thing. There, in AST, you won't get a near-term liquidity event. I would forego that because I don't see a high odds of it anyway. And I would forego the potential of a huge punitive legal settlement because frankly, the peace of mind of getting on with my life, and I know oil and gas, and by saying that means I also know that nobody knows everything in oil and gas by a long shot. But I like that project. I like the upside of that project. I'd love to own that asset. So, yeah, that's my answer, Tom. Well, Ryan makes a good point. I think you're right, Ryan. It may be that we collectively are much stronger with our shares at the broker-dealers. Ultimately, and I agree with science rules, it's such a big problem. It will take down the system. It will destroy the system, the financial system. And if you're listening, it will destroy the United States' place in the world. That's really scary stuff. So they're gonna try to come up with a solution. With money, they just inflated it away. Maybe wars will stop this. We'll solve it for them. I think settlements will accrue. Oh God, it's so confusing to come up with hypotheticals. But I think the settlement that I described would go to everybody. A settlement that the financial markets might come up with probably wouldn't go to anyone at AST. And a settlement that's worked out with lawyers, they'll try not to, but ultimately I think a legal settlement will go. There'll be class actions all over the place, and you'll be part of the class action, maybe a different class. You'll be the Nextbridge class. I don't know, this central bank digital currency. I mean, I went in a couple of days ago, their outdoor court up the street. At night, everyone parties. But in the morning, I saw, oh, they sell coffee. So I walked my dog in and asked for coffee, pulled out my cash. Oh, sir, we don't take cash. So we're already in a very non-cash society place anyway. But I don't think people will stand for digital currency. We'll all use it. I'll use it. But I think people will start doing things, unless they put computers, cameras in all our houses, people will start bartering. That's what I think. A grilled brat sounds great. All right, I'm going to go 10 more minutes. Sorry. Oh. Sorry. I know that didn't sound good. Hey, Zizu. Well, I'm actually under quite a bit of in the back of my head and in my heart. I'm really worried about my dog, and it brings up all sorts of personal questions too, because I don't think I'll do very well without my dog. And he's the woman at the pet store who I've known a long time, and she has a lot of big dogs. She says it's it begins with a V, but it happens when dogs get older. They collapse and they get a little panicked. But if you wait 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, they can recover, but not going back the way they were, but they get the use of their legs again. My vet couldn't see him today, and I don't know how I'll get him over there anyway. I can't walk him over there. It's way up on a hill. But there's a couple of vets that I can go to. But I also bought a harness so I can help him if need be. But the poor guy, he tries to get up on his chair where he likes to sleep, and I watched him. He almost did, and he falls backward, hits his head, and then he looks at me. And as he's walking, he bumps into the wall, and then he falls. It's, if he were in the wild, his pack would kill him. And I know some owners might put him down, but I'm not going to put him down. But I have a very heavy heart about it, very heavy. And I want to do the right thing by him. Oh, would a vet come to my house? I don't have one, but I could ask the guy. It's something like vertigo. It's like vertimilia. It's something like vertigo, Donnie. It's something. But he's such a good dog. But hey, he's not as scared as I am. He's quite accepting. Well, we do pay, David. We do pay the taxes, and they don't. So when trillions of dollars gets dumped into our economy to help create jobs, to help cities, to help firemen and truckers and all that, they kill the companies. They take the trillions directly out. You know that, David. The whole idea about priming the pump with money is velocity of money. So if the government puts out $1 trillion in COVID payments to everyone, they spend the money at the pharmacist, at the shoe maker, at the restaurant, at the vet. The vet makes money, but the vet buys supplies. The vet makes money. The vet pays taxes. There's taxes on all the supplies that the vet buys. Every bit of food at the restaurant, there's taxes on. The restaurateur pays taxes. There's taxes that go throughout the workman's comp. All of that. But when the $1 trillion gets funneled into Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and in these too big to fail banks and into the hedge funds, what do they do with it? This kind of criminality, and they don't pay taxes. They destroy companies. They destroy tax bases. They destroy technologies. They destroy the military. And they take all of those trillions of dollars out. You understand why in every document there's, if you get delisted, it's a default, and then they can go after the company. CEOs should be put in prison. Unfortunately, they're never going to put themselves in prison. But if we could get it so that it's a fiduciary duty of the CEO to not sign these toxic notes, the SEC would go after the CEOs and everything would stop. But it's 520 right now. The stock is 520. Here, let me look what he's... That's it, Donnie. That's it. Vestibular disease. I think that was it. Vestibular. Aw. Let's just hug and say goodbye. I know, nothing but the best. We had dogs a little bit when I was young, and then I had a dog when I first went to work, but it wasn't the best for the dog. I loved that dog, but it wasn't the best because I was not at home. And anyway, my college roommate's mother took the dog on, that dog lived out her life on Farmingham Country Club in Charlottesville. So the dog had a great life. But now that I've had Lucky, it makes me wish I had had dogs every single day of my life. I wish I had gotten him a puppy. But I'll tell you, I'm not sure when he goes, I'm not sure I'll get another dog because it's going to hurt so much. Yeah, he's such a good boy. I love all the lessons he teaches. I probably will need another one. But I'd like I'd like to know where I'm going to be. You know, yeah, I probably would need another one, maybe more than one. But he gives of himself so selflessly, and his joy and his, I don't know, they're great. It's something like that, vestibular disease, something like that. She described it, it's almost like having a stroke, but it's not really a stroke. And they get disoriented, panicked. They get panicked, and then they can't use their they can't use their back legs. Well, that's right. Nothing but the best. I love all for some reason, all my life, cats of all things, dogs, little, babies have always liked me, and I've always liked them. Maybe that's why, but um, but I think I could have done better with Lucky over the last couple of years, and I want to make sure I do well by any dog I get. Vestibular, something like that. Oh, they would leave him alone in a wild pack? Oh, that's good. That's good. Rubber boots is a good idea. I like that idea. I wonder if he'd wear them. Here's science rules. All of this stuff with naked, short, and counterfeit shares pales in comparison to the love of... I know. Science rules. I just wish... I'm trying to see this through to a completion point, but I don't know if it'll ever come. Yeah, many dogs come back. That's what she was telling. They do give unconditional love. All right. Okay. With that, because it's a good place to stop. I know. I'm really worried. You guys might not hear from me again when I lose Lucky. I don't know. I'm worried about going into a deep depression or something. But we'll see. We just got to take it. It's life. It's life. And maybe that's a lesson he'll teach me, because he's taught me a lot of lessons. A lot of lessons. And I'll miss him greatly. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna hang up because it's 6:32. There was a lot of rain out. I'm gonna see if I can carry him down the stairs and we can go outside. I don't know. But look, there were two questions tonight that I went on for a long, long time. I apologize for that. I would love science rules. We could coordinate somehow. I'd love to interview you, let you answer people's questions. It's fascinating. I do my best to understand what's going on, but you know it. Well, I think that's what ultimately will happen, and I think West Christian is doing that, is trying to subpoena broker dealers directly, because they know the number, the macro number, and I've said this for a long time, but as a group now, they know the total. So don't embarrass some of the broker dealers. Just give the total. But then the system, just like Science Rules says, doesn't want that out there because then the problem is so massive. Can you imagine the panic? I don't know how big the United States security system is. I saw somewhere that financial assets in U.S. households was 120 trillion. I don't know now. I don't remember. But imagine if suddenly around the world, because they do it with bonds as well. They do it with bonds, precious metals, our money, and now with securities. Imagine the panic that would go on and the collapse in the stock market that would happen. Yeah. An ear infection. He's lost muscle mass in his legs. Is that the Eagles? Life is what happens when you're busy making plans. You can spend all your time making money, and you can spend all your love making time. Yeah, it's funny. Ain't it funny? Ain't it funny how time slips away? All right, 5:04 now. Bastards. The bastards. All right, so I'm going to say goodnight. I wish each of you the best. And hopefully one of these days buying will come into Finger. I think sometime in the very near future. As I see it, that letter that I showed you, this letter is basically Finger telling Lynn Partners, you're fired. And Finger needs capital to grow. So I'm really optimistic that Finger will never take another toxic note again. And so I'm excited to see who their new financial partner will be. And I'm willing to guess that that could happen pretty soon. Why? Why would they put this out? They could have done it before. I don't know. Just reading tea leaves there. Oh, that's nice, Donnie. I think I believe I think God brought Lucky into my life. I think God knew what was good for me. So yeah, Deacon Blues. How about the movie where he's got a bulldog, and everywhere he goes, is that your dog? Why? Why? You want him? Yeah, what is? Oh. All right, I'll try it. CB, I'm letting him answer that question. That's a good one. Looks like my name. All right, CB, he's not answering your question. So I'm going to say over and out. Over and out. Okay. So we'll see you tomorrow.